Hi, this is Mrs. Zhu, and we are working on homework number 18, and this is the worksheet. I'm actually not going to be able to write over this. It's a little small too, so I'm going to work through our other page instead. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start on number 1, and it's all the way number till number 35. When I write a number in scientific notation, remember that the first number that I look at needs to be in between 1 and 10. So it actually has to be greater than or equal to 1, but it has to be less than 10. So this is what that means. So the first number that we get. And then when I times it by 10 and the power of 10, then I have a power number. That number can be either negative or positive. That's okay. So in number 1, when I look at the first choice, the 0.26 is not between 1 and 10, so that's definitely not going to be it. B is 26.0, that's also not going to be it because 26 is bigger than 10. 20.6 is also bigger than 10, so we don't want that, which leaves us our answer D, exactly what we want, 2.60 times 10 to the 4th power. So number 1 is D. Okay, I'm going to work my way down and I'm going to skip number 2. I'm going to go to number 3. Number 3, I have 6.13 times 10 to the negative 2. If I write it in standard notation, I want to take the decimal and move that decimal. Now the negative 2 is going to tell me how many times I'm going to move the decimal. I'm going to move it twice. Okay, and because it's negative, I'm going to move it to the left. If it's positive, then I move it to the right. So I'm going to take that decimal, move it 1, 2 to the left. Then I'm going to get a decimal here, add a 0 in front of the 6, then add the 6, 1, and the 3, and my answer is 0.0613. I'm going to try number 6. If I have 6,000 or 642,000 and I want to write that in scientific, okay, so I have a standard, but I want to write it in scientific, then what I need to do is, remember, the scientific number will begin with the first number being greater than 1, but less than 10. So I'm going to write 6, 4, and 2. I'm going to put my decimal right in between the 6 and the 4, because 6.42 is between 1 and 10. So and then I'm going to multiply by power of 10, and then I'm going to get an exponent. How do I find that exponent? I know that in 642,000, my decimal is at the end of my number, but I had put a decimal right here between the 6 and the 4, so I'm just going to count how many spaces they are away from each other. I counted 5, so then my exponent is going to be 5. Now I do have to figure out if that's going to be a positive 5 or a negative 5, and since 642,000 is larger than 1, then I know that it's going to be a positive exponent. Okay, if it was less than 1, such as problem number 5, then I would get a negative exponent. So I would choose negative. Now if you look at all the choices in number 6, they all happen to be positive exponent, or you could have even used the choices and worked backwards. They will give you scientific answers, and then you can find the standard and see if it matches up. Okay. Number 7, when written in scientific notation, which of these numbers is greater than 1 but less than 2? So I'm looking for a choice that is greater than 1 or less than 2. Okay, number A, 1.6 times 10 to the negative 3rd. Negative 3rd means I move the decimal 3 times, and then it's negative, so I'm going to go to the left. So that decimal goes 1, 2, 3. It's going to end up there. Now this decimal I'm getting is clearly not greater than 1. Definitely don't want that. It seems that I have some other choice. I'm going to skip down to choice D. 1.6 times 10 to the 0. 0 means I'm not going to move the decimal at all. Not move the decimal. Okay. So I'm just going to get 1.6. Basically 1.6 is going to times 1, which is just 1.6. Now that's a number definitely greater than 1, but less than 2. So I'm going to choose D. And I can go back and try choice B and C, but I decided to skip those because I wasn't really getting much close to my answer. Alright, we're going to continue on the little booklet, the back side. On number 11, when I multiply fractions, and I can make improper first. Now I don't need to. Second step I would do would be to cross cancel. Now I don't have anything to cancel. 5 and 6 can't, 4 and 7 can't. So I'm going to skip that. And so step 3, I'm just going to multiply my numerators and then multiply my denominators, giving me 24 over 35, which would be answer letter C. Number 12, I'm going to start to divide fractions here. Now when I divide, I follow I, heart, K, F, C. Remember, I stands for improper, K stands for to keep the first, F is flip the second, and C is, good, change the sign. So keeping that one, well, you know, I don't need to do step 1, so I'm just going to skip that. Okay, keep the first, flip the second one, 7 over 2, make it a multiplying. Okay, and anytime I start to multiply, I can go back to what we had talked about earlier, and I can even start to cancel. Okay, cross cancel. So I guess if we want, we can say I heart KFCC, cross cancel. Okay, and always make sure you simplify. So I can cancel that, I get 1 and 1, cancel this side, I get 2 and 1, giving me the answer 2 over 1, which is just 2. So that would be letter choice D. Skipping down to number 16, 3 to the second times 3 to the seventh. One of our rules that we had talked about back in chapter 4 was that we can, when we are multiplying our powers, then what we can do is simply add our exponents. And if we forget any of that, then all we need to do is, when in doubt, expand out. So if I were to expand this out, here this would be 3 times 3. If I expand 3 to the 7th power, that means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then if I'm timesing all that together, that just means I'm doing 3 to the 9th power. And if I look at my choices, I do see that as one of my answers, A. Okay, or I could use a rule telling me to add the 2 plus the 7, still giving me the 9. Then I have number 18. Okay, I'm going to subtract fractions here. I have 5 and over 1, 5, 1, 6 minus 3 and 5, 6. Okay, when I am subtracting fractions, then the first thing I need to do is to change to improper. I always do that. So what steps we use actually is just Pixar. Okay, so I actually am going to use that when I show you. So P, I'm going to rewrite the problem. 5, 1, 6 minus 3, 5, 6. Okay, I is to change them into improper. So I get 31 over 6. Over here I get 23 over 6. Okay, X and E means I am finding the common denominator. Some of us like to kind of put those together and not put a line. That's fine. R. X and E means what I multiply to get a common denominator. Now they are already common, so I don't really need to even do this step. So I can skip it, okay, and then go straight here to R, which is to reduce. And what I'm going to get is I have 31 minus 23. I always subtract the numerators, and then I always keep the denominator. Remember, the denominator means how big the slices of pizza are. So here's 6 on the bottom. When I subtract that, I will get 8 over 6, giving me 4 over 3, which is the same as 1 and 1/3. And my answer would be A. I'm not going to do any of the problems from the rational and irrational section. Please refer to your notes that we took on Monday about rational, irrational. Look it over, and if we need extra help with that, I can explain it in class. On number 27, that one seems quite long. However, if we look at the question carefully, I am ordering it from the least to the greatest. Now, all of those numbers are the same in A, B, C, D choices, so I do want to look for the ones that are the smallest first. So I do see a negative half. Okay, that definitely is going to be the smallest because it's a negative number. So already I can eliminate some choices. Definitely not C or D, because negative half, I don't want that to be the greatest or in the middle. Okay, so between A and B, I have negative half. Then the next number I have is 10 to the negative 2 for A. Remember, 10 to the negative 2 means that I flip the fraction, I flip it 1 over 10, and then I make the negative 2 a positive 2. So this is the same as 1 over 100th. So basically 1/100th. That decimal would be 0.01 because 1 is in the hundredths place. Okay, and I want to see if that's going to be smaller than 1.02. It is. And then I have 12 over 1. That 1.02 is definitely smaller than 12. And then the last number, 10 to the second, is 10 times 10, giving me 100. So, wow, I did already get A. And I can kind of double check and see how we did with B, but I think we're okay with that one. Yeah. Okay, on the back side, we'll be finishing very soon. We're going to do problem number 28. I have 3.20 and I want to write that as a fraction. Remember my triangle, I have fraction at the top, so first at the top, D for decimal down at the bottom, down the decimal, okay, to help you remember. And here's a percent here. We'll get to that part later. When I change a decimal into a fraction going this way, I want to put the number over my place value. Okay, and then making sure that I always simplify when I get to my fraction. In the other direction, if you remember, when we go down, we divide when we go down. So that also helps you remember to divide when you go down to a decimal. Okay, so I'm going to take 320. I can leave the 3 as a whole number and figure out what the fraction is for 0.28. I would put 28 over 100 because the place value of the 8 is in the hundredths place. Okay, then I'm going to simplify this fraction, divide both of them by 4, giving me 7 over 25. So my final answer would be the 3 plus the 7 over 25, giving me, well, if I look at my choices, I don't see that mixed number, so it seems like I have to change it to improper. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 25, add the 7, giving me 75 plus 7, which is 82. So I get 82 over 25. Okay, answer is C. Let's look at number 31. I have 0.5, 1/2, 3/4, and 1/5, and I'm looking for the greatest number. Okay, now some of us are pretty proficient in our fractions. We definitely know that half is the same as 0.5, so I'm going to change all of them to a decimal. I think that'll be the easiest to help me compare them. Already we know that 3/4 is the same as 3/4, and because quarters, when we think of money, cost 25 cents, if I have 3/4, that makes 75 cents, which makes the decimal 0.75. 1/5, if I'm not sure how to figure out fractions to decimals, remember that in my triangle I'm dividing. So here we go, back to the triangle. Fractions to decimals, I am dividing. Okay, right here. So I'm going to divide those two numbers. The number on the top goes in the box. So in my box, I have 1 goes in, top in, bottom out, 5 out. And if I divide, I get to carry my decimal up. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 0.2 for that one. And so definitely my greatest fraction here is going to be this one right here. So that would be answer letter C. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.